This is Columbus Concerns, a public affairs presentation of North American Broadcasting. Here's your host, Mark Neuse.
And thanks so much for joining us this morning for Columbus Concerns. With us on the program today is Hanna Greer-Brown, Communications Manager at SWACO, the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio. And Hanna, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mark. It's great to be here.
Food Waste Prevention Week is coming up. Tell us a little bit about that and why people should care about it.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. So your listeners might be surprised to know that food waste is the largest source of material coming to the landfill every single day in our community. In fact, about 1 million pounds of food arrives at the landfill daily, and that's coming from local residents, but also from schools and businesses, restaurants, and other kind of food service businesses across our community. So not only is it an eye-opening statistic, it also prevents one of the best opportunities for us to reduce the reliance on the landfill if we can make a commitment to preventing food waste in the first place.
Our moms would be appalled.
I know, right?
If they knew we were wasting so much food. I guess the big question is, why is this food going out to the landfill and not being used?
Well, a lot of Central Ohio households tell us that leftovers present the biggest challenge for them. They may make a big meal one night, but then the next day, nobody else in the household wants to eat that same meal. And so we are working really hard to educate people about how easy it is to turn those leftovers into something new or even freeze them and use them a couple of months down the road. So it really is kind of easy to get involved and take action and begin to kind of take some simple steps at home to prevent food waste in the first place.
So how are you teaching people to do that?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, we convened the Central Ohio Food Waste Initiative, which makes up partners from across the entire food waste production spectrum. So we had local grocers, we had the restaurant industry, we had school educators, we certainly had community and private sector business leaders around the table. And what we all determined was that first we needed to make the community aware that food waste is an issue here in Central Ohio. In addition to that, we put together the Food Waste Action Plan, which outlined 20 solutions for solving food waste in Central Ohio. And we set a really robust goal. Together, we want to cut food waste in half by the year 2030. So we are working together across all spectrums of the food waste industry to educate residents about the impacts of food waste in our community. That includes the environmental and the economic losses when we throw out the food on our dinner plates.
Hanna Greer-Brown is with us today, the Communications Manager for SWACO, talking about Food Waste Prevention Week. 20 solutions. What are some of those?
Well, the first thing we wanted to do was just make people aware that food waste is an issue in our community. So we created the Save More Than Food campaign, and it really is an advertising campaign, but also very much focused on public education. So we work with the 41 communities here in Central Ohio to help fund food waste drop-off locations where residents can go for free and drop off all of their food scraps, right? In addition to that, we send out mailers, we take out paid advertising, all under the Save More Than Food campaign to educate residents about how to prevent food waste, but why it's important. There are a lot of economic and environmental losses when you simply throw away the food from your dinner plates. And so we're working really hard with all of our partners to educate residents in those ways.
Talk about the impact of having all that food going into the landfill.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the landfill is a community asset, we like to say at SWACO. We work really hard to make sure it's uses best-in-class standards across the industry. But at the end of the day, it isn't the best solution for our food because our food is valuable. We're spending millions of dollars to grow and transport food to Central Ohio that isn't eaten. And in addition to that, families are spending thousands of dollars at the grocery every year on food that they buy but simply throw away. When you think about that, I mean, for most of us, that's equivalent to a couple of car payments or even a mortgage payment. And so there are real environmental and economic losses when you simply throw food in the trash can and send it to the landfill. Of course, we're going to make sure food is safely managed once it gets to the landfill, but there really is a better way to manage that important resource instead of just sending it to the landfill.
I imagine a lot of it begins when you head to the grocery store thinking ahead about what you're going to buy.
Absolutely. So one of the best things that you can do is, have a plan for the food that you're going to purchase. Know how you're going to prepare it throughout the week. Only buy as much as you need, right? So if you buy a big roast and make that on Sunday and you do wind up with leftovers, have a plan for how you're going to manage that. Is your family willing to eat it the next, for a couple of days as leftovers?
Yeah.
Can you freeze it? Can you turn that roast into, something new and different by getting creative with those leftovers? And so we use the Save More Than Food website, savemorethanfood.org, to provide recipes and tips on how people can manage those materials or that food that they buy from the grocery store. So being prepared and shopping with a list are great ways to get organized before you head out to the store.
Yeah, it's been so hard at my house because my wife and I are now empty nesters. So, we've been used to, preparing meals for four, and now we're preparing meals for two. And it's sometimes we still think about, making the big pan of lasagna or something like that we get tired of.
Absolutely.
Before the week's out.
Yes, for sure. And so, when we have those leftovers on that lasagna, freeze them up. They last for a long time in the freezer, and it actually cuts down on the work you have to do in a couple of months. If you pull those out and warm those up, you have dinner ready to go. So you're not alone. A lot of us are adjusting to changes in the household.
And I know you say that the Save More Than Food pilot program can help people cut down on their food waste by 20%.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mentioned that we convened the Central Ohio Food Waste Initiative. We created the Save More Than Food campaign. But like any good public sector agency, we then wanted to know our efforts having an impact and our investments of time and money and other resources generating the return on investment that we'd like to see. And so we applied for and received a federal grant to study Save More Than Food and our food waste efforts here in Central Ohio. We were fortunate to be able to partner with The Ohio State University and the city of Upper Arlington, and we surveyed thousands of households about their food waste behaviors. And what we were able to discern was that when we sent them those mailers from the Save More Than Food campaign, and we provided access to a SWACO-funded food waste drop-off site, they were able to reduce their household's food waste by just over 20%, actually 21%. We also saw that the use of the food waste drop-off site rose by 40%. So that really was affirmation that when we couple infrastructure like the drop-off sites with education, we're having a real measurable impact in our community.
And especially when you get across to people that they're wasting $2,000 a year, that's a big number.
Absolutely. I mean, when it's, I think it's easy to overlook some of the environmental statistics that we're, 1 million pounds of water, 1 million gallons of water is being used to grow food that's transported to Central Ohio but never eaten. But when you think about the pocketbook issue of thousands of dollars that our individual families are spending on food, that's being wasted. That's really impactful and I think a real motivator to change.
And then on top of that, you take a look at the fact that there are people that don't have enough to eat.
Absolutely, and that's a great point. So, certainly not all of the food that makes its way to the landfill is edible, but a large portion of it is. And I mentioned earlier that it's not just local residents that are contributing to the material coming to the landfill, it's also the commercial sector. And so we're fortunate in Central Ohio to have a number of food rescue organizations like Food Rescue US or the Mid-Ohio Food Collective who accept donations from, different types of donations. Sometimes they have to be prepackaged, unserved, but certainly there are opportunities for the commercial sector, food businesses to divert edible food from the landfill and put it into the hands of individuals and families who are at risk of being hungry.
So if someone's listening to this and they'd like to have some of your tips, how do they get those?
Yeah, so go to savemorethanfood.org and then click on the At Home tab, and you can download all kinds of resources to prevent food waste, including recipes to get creative with leftovers. We also have a lot of guidance there on how to compost at home or find one of these drop-off locations for food scraps that we've been funding in Central Ohio.
SaveMoreThanFood.org.
Correct.
That's easy to remember. Our guest on the program today is the communications manager with SWACO, the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio, Hanna Greer-Brown. And in addition to saving food, I know SWACO has a number of other programs and events coming up this year. Tell us about a few of those.
Absolutely. So in addition to April being Food Waste Prevention Week, the month of April is also Earth Month, and there are a number of opportunities to divert other materials from the landfill, including prescription drugs. So every year we partner with the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency to host a variety of prescription drug take-backs across Central Ohio. The next prescription drug take-back day is happening on Earth Day, which is April 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and like I mentioned, there's probably 24 participating locations. So to find one that's close to you, go to swaco.org and go to the pharmaceutical disposal tab, and you can find a location by searching by your zip code.
You know, it's interesting because you put your trash out at the curb, you don't think about it anymore. But
Right.
that's when your job starts at SWACO. So talk about what happens to someone's trash when they take it out and how it ends up in your landfill, and where is the landfill?
Sure, yeah. So SWACO was created many, many years ago, and we really have kind of this dual responsibility of safely owning and operating the landfill and meeting all of our statutory responsibilities at the Franklin County Sanitary Landfill. But we're also focused on helping the community to reduce its reliance on the landfill. And so the prescription drug take-back days, even our household hazardous waste collection events are great ways that we help local residents reduce their reliance on the landfill. But we also offer tours of the landfill if you'd ever want to come out and take a look at just what happens to your waste when it leaves the curb. We're located in Grove City, right off of 71 South. And we, have probably 400 to 500 trash trucks come to our landfill every single day. We get over 1 million tons of material every year. And what's really kind of sad and eye-opening is that the large portion of that, 75% or more, could have been diverted away from the landfill. So we're talking about through either reusing an item, recycling it, or composting it. So we like to celebrate the fact that in Central Ohio, our diversion rate is at 51%. It exceeds the national average. But when we look at the materials coming to the landfill, we know we have a big opportunity to increase our diversion even more. So you can go to swaco.org if you want to sign up for a landfill tour and learn more about some of the diversion events.
So when it comes to when people put their trash out, what do they need to think about before they put it in? Maybe, can it be recycled, or can you use it again? How do they go about that?
Yeah, so in most communities in Central Ohio, residents, homeowners have access to, of course, curbside trash pickup, but also curbside yard waste and recycling pickup. Mm-hmm. And so getting familiar with what materials are accepted for recycling is a great place to start. So in Franklin County, we're recycling virtually all household paper and cardboard, but also plastic bottles and jugs and cups, glass bottles and jars, metal cans, and then carton containers, like a lot of alternative milk or soup broth come in carton containers. So if you have one of those items, just make sure it's clean and empty and put that in the recycling cart. Everything else that's left over can go in the trash bin. You want to make sure your trash is in a bag, whereas recyclables need to be loose, your trash needs to be bagged, and that is a really important just safety issue for our workers at the landfill and at our transfer stations. And so that gets, that material gets picked up and hauled down to the county landfill in Grove City, and we make sure it's safely disposed of. And so.
It's a major resource in Central Ohio to have a landfill like that. And talk about the estimated life of the landfill before you have to start maybe looking for other sites.
Yeah, of course. So if nothing changes, if everything stays the same as it is today, so we're diverting the same amount of material, our population doesn't change, we have about 42 years of life left on the current Franklin County landfill. Now, we all know Central Ohio's population is booming, yes. So that landfill life could change drastically, and that's another great reason why we're really being proactive about educating residents about how to recycle, how to tackle food waste so that we can reduce our reliance on the landfill and make sure it stays around for a very long time.
And I know a lot of what you do down there is to make sure that what is put in the landfill is contained safely and doesn't get out into the environment.
Oh, yeah. I mean, gone are the days of people, bringing their materials to a dump. The landfill here in Franklin County is highly engineered, highly regulated. It's a very sophisticated operation. And so we like to say it's an engineering marvel. I think if your listeners took a tour of the landfill, they would be surprised about all of the environmental regulations and liners and all of the things we do, even to collect litter that could blow off of the landfill, even fragrance the air around the landfill. We take a lot of steps to be a good neighbor, but also make sure that the landfill here in Franklin County is a state-of-the-art facility.
Who pays for what SWACO does?
Yeah, we are funded by ratepayers. So if you come out to the landfill, which residents are welcome to use the landfill if they have material that they can't just dispose of at the curb and they want to bring it down to the landfill, we charge a gate rate. So you kind of pull up and you pay a small fee to drive into the landfill, and those tipping fees are what fund our operations.
And do municipalities pay tipping fees? Is that how that works?
Yes, and private trash haulers who pull their trucks up onto our scales, we charge them $42.75. Actually, I'm sorry, we've reduced that. It's $39.75 per ton of trash that comes into the landfill.
So once again, I want to get back to the issue of food waste. We're focusing on Food Waste Prevention Week here in April, and talk a little bit about where people can go online to get more tips on how not to get so much food waste in their trash.
Absolutely. So go to savemorethanfood.org to download food waste prevention resources. Also, just maybe commit to beginning to shop with a list. We talked about that a few minutes ago. And then storing your foods properly. So when you get home from the grocery, not everything goes in the refrigerator or on the counter or in a cool, dark place. So if you go to savemorethanfood.org, you can download a brand new resource that we've just created called a food storage guide, and it will help you discern where to put your avocados, what to do with bananas. In fact, people might be surprised to know that if maybe you buy a specialty herb for a recipe that you're making, but you don't need the whole bunch of herbs. So what do you do to make those last longer? We've got all kinds of great tips about washing and preparing those, and just even storing them in the refrigerator, like in a cup of water, like you would flowers in a vase. And those herbs will stay good I've had them stay good as long as 3 weeks, as long as you change the water out like you would with flowers. So lots of great tips at savemorethanfood.org. And then finally, I just say, learn how to freeze your leftovers so that you can eat them in the future.
This is why my wife doesn't take me to the grocery store with her, because I always throw the extra stuff in the cart that we really don't need.
The impulse buying.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of that goes on. And never go hungry.
That's right.
Never go to the grocery store hungry. That's my rule. But anyway, Hanna Greer-Brown, the communications manager for SWACO, has been our guest on the program today. And again, once again, the website where people can get more tips.
SaveMoreThanFood.org.
Well, Hanna, thanks so much for stopping by. We really appreciate your tips today, and good luck on your food waste prevention program.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and happy Earth Month and Food Waste Prevention Week to everyone.